You're probably wondering where all my gear went. I had all those cool uniques that took hours and hours and hours to find. Well, there's something that I've been wondering for a while, and that's what happens if you spend 1 million emeralds at the shop. Can I get it built as good as the one I manually grinded out? We'll find out today. I'm going to painstakingly spend 1 million emeralds. And in case you're wondering, no, I didn't grind these out because I like to put out videos basically every day. If I grinded out 1 million emeralds, that would be more like one a week. I've just spent my first 5,000 emeralds. Here's what I've got. 3 uniques, some rares, a bunch of commons. One of them, this lightning harp crossbow, actually isn't bad because if it's multiple projectiles plus multi-shot, combine that with say accelerate and maybe even infinity, and we might actually have a pretty decent bow already. The unique armor so far is nothing to write home about, but it is actually serviceable. I could use this. And I think for the sake of actually finishing this at some point today, I'm only going to try on uniques to play with, because if I start playing with every little item, I'm going to be here for a week. But already my gear score is up to 52, and boy do I ever feel exposed. Even this will actually work though, just because of that bow. I should be able to kill most of the mobs. The bosses I might struggle with, but I could actually work with this. Maybe not so much with the guys that have deflect. Even then, I probably could just do it. It would just take a little bit of time. I definitely do love the multi-shot bows though. They are my favorite. But let's keep going and spend another, say, 5,000. So we'll have spent a total of 10. One thing I didn't consider before I entered that level was that it was going to pull my gear score down when I was back to the menu. So now I'm finding items that are level 73 in power. So I'm going to put on some stuff just to boost my power, just to pull it back up. Which is also going to mean buying a few things from here occasionally, but that's alright, we've got 1 million to spend. There's a little bit of room for error. Just like that, I pulled it up to 93. If I enter level and leave again, buy some more of those, we'll be right back over 100. After adding a few things that are 100 or thereabouts, our gear score is 103. This will be enough for us to buy whatever we want. Also, if you're wondering if I actually sacrificed all of my items, I just cloned my character. This isn't actually my usual character. Anyways, let's spend another 5,000 now that our gear score is back to 103. Another 5,000 spent, got 1 unique, 2 uniques, and that's probably going to be about the odds. I think it's 5% chance to get a unique, 20% chance to find a rare. I like this renegade armor way better than my usual armor. This is one of the armors I actually prefer out of all of them. Plus an elite power bow that I've never actually found before. This is one of the ones that I could have used while I was trying to one-shot the boss. If it had multi-shot, I'd consider using it. At this point, I'm going to salvage everything that's not unique. Unless it has cool enchantments, but I'm not really going to take a close look at any one thing because I just simply don't have time. Mystery armor, however, I will always take a look at because it can get some really good rolls on it. After salvaging, we're left with only 988,000 emeralds left to spend. This shouldn't take long at all. This time I'm going to attempt to spend 20,000 emeralds as long as my inventory doesn't get full. Only when you're doing stupid repetitive tasks like this do you notice the finer details of a game. Look at the blacksmith. After every time I buy something, he smashes his face into the table. I think he's actually bowing, but you know what? I notice these things. And to be honest, the only reason I even noticed that is because he actually moves and it makes him hard to click on repeatedly. It's either that or he's just having a stroke because he's excited to be earning $1 million today. After spending another 20,000 emeralds, this is what I got, a few uniques down the row. You're never going to believe what I found already. 106 mystery armor with 30% range damage plus 20% weapon damage boost aura. I was looking for that for the longest time on my regular file. The only silver lining here is that it doesn't have cowardice, otherwise it would have been almost the perfect armor. And within this cluster I found my first level 108, a katana. We'll go ahead and equip that for now just to keep our gear score as high as possible. Though even as it is, with only having spent about 30,000 emeralds, I could probably beat the final boss. This is the total of my uniques found so far. There's a purple storm, the slicer, a bone bow, and a venom glaive. Still no weapons that are over the top, but I'm pretty sure I could do this. If I use my mystery armor that's going to give me extra damage with protection and deflect, along with my katana with these enchantments, I could probably beat the final boss. Note that my artifacts are good for either stunning or making friends. That deflect is working pretty good so far. Hopefully my bow can do enough damage to keep me alive. This katana can do some damage. There's a 16,000 hit, and that was a pretty regular hit. So these knights are going to be my biggest concern, but as long as I can get a clean multi-shot into them, they'll die quickly. So far I'm finding this way easier than I should be, and this is on the hardest mode, Apocalypse 7 or whatever it is. What's that guy doing down there? This would be a good test of power, the first golem, and so far he's just melting away a lot quicker than I thought he would. I admit I might have died once. I'm gonna blame that mostly on TNT. Made it to the boss with very little issue. My only regret is that I don't have artifacts that are better suited for doing this in a hurry, but I don't think he's gonna be too much of a problem for me to be able to kill, especially when I can make some of his idiots my friends to fight for me. And I've got an idea of how I'm gonna do the second part. I just really hope my arrows wind up fast enough before he spawns. That should be pretty good. And he's dying actually very quick. I got very lucky to get such a powerful build this fast. So after buying and then salvaging, I've really only spent about 27,000 emeralds, which is great because that means the next $970,000 is just overkill. So let's drop it from here, 975,000 down to 900,000 and see what we find. Okay, let's take a quick stop at 950,000 because I know I saw some gems involved in there somewhere. I'm going to delete all this so you can see just the uniques. One thing I probably should have factored in is how much money I'm going to be making back off salvaging. By the time I'm done this, I'm going to have spent probably closer to 1.5 million. So here's my unique collection now. This cursed axe is one of the things people do look for. It is radiance, swirling, sharpness, shockwave. That would be a moneymaker by itself. Same with the Ember robe, simply for its 25% artifact cooldown. Depending on its enchantments, it can be very good. The fox armor is always pretty nice because of its 20% weapon boost aura, but fighter's bindings are many people's favorite item in the entire game. These can be crazy powerful, especially depending on their enchantments, like radiance to keep you alive, gravity to pull them in, and swirling to murder everyone very quickly. In fact, these are what I'm going to use until I find something better, if I do. So I've found some pretty amazing high-powered stuff so far, but keep in mind I've spent more emeralds than a lot of you are probably going to find playing all the way to the end of the game. So let's see what else we can find. We're 5% of the way there. In case you're wondering about the fighter's bindings, even with my whatever armor I've got on right now, and combine that instead with my renegade armor for damage and speed, and we get ourselves a real destroyer of cows, or any enemy for that matter, because these cows are really about as strong as you get in the game. And that's pretty funny because I'm already wondering how I'm going to improve on his build, and like I said, I'm 5% of the way done. It just keeps hoovering them in and then they get destroyed. I never realized how much fun this is. Okay, so how about those boss fights? You can definitely see a difference here. If I had better artifacts, this would be much easier, but still, it's not going to be a problem, not one little bit. I'm just not really used to this taking so long. And that's the boss defeated. Not even going to pick that up. Back to town. I'll see you guys in 50,000 emeralds. For the first time ever, I filled my inventory and I'm only down to 930. So I'll just salvage everything that's not unique. And boy, what a lot of fun this is going to be. Look at this. At this point, I found 3 uniques straight in a row. Just as we hit 900,000, we run out of inventory space. And after salvaging again, I earned 8,000 emeralds back, which is actually super annoying right now. But here's what I got. Another mystery armor with double bonus damage, a firebrand axe with triple radiance for whatever that's worth, another fighter's bindings with less good enchantments, and some 105 spider armor which will boost attack speed and gives you lifesteal, so that could be good with a build like mine, and 105 moon daggers that can be pretty good in the right hands. And frankly, there's so many uniques that I'm losing track. One that is kind of interesting is the elite power bow 107 with supercharge. If it had multi-shot and power, it's one I might consider using because it hits really hard. Here's what I have to do now. I'm going to salvage all the uniques that I don't think are good or that I'm not going to use because I need more room in my inventory. The more room I have, the quicker I can get through this. Plus, this will just help me keep track of the ones we've already looked at. So we're still going to see a lot of uniques, but I'm really only going to keep the ones that I consider to be like god rolls. I'm also noticing a trend of finding a lot of level 104 unique. I'm going to kind of blame that on my gear score, so I'm going to buy artifacts until I find some 106s, 107s to pull that up a little bit. I don't care what they are, as long as they're 106, 107, or 108. And there we go. Putting on these 3 gives me a power of 105. It only brought it up by 1, but if that does affect the items, that's all the better. Even after buying all those artifacts, we're still at 910,000. This is going to take so long to do. A modest 100,000 emeralds later, and here's what we've got. Definitely found some good high-level uniques, and I haven't really gone through it yet, but I know there's going to be some good ones in there somewhere. A twin bow could be fun, shoots 2 enemies at once with multi-shot, but it doesn't do a ton of damage. Another Ember robe, I've been finding these everywhere, level 106, enchantments no good. I did find my very first HARP crossbow, which can be one of the very best items in the game in my opinion, but it doesn't have multi-shot, or really a lot of good things. We did find a 104 guardian bow. It doesn't have multi-shot, but it does have things like accelerated power, so that's a pretty good find in itself. Something called a SOULDANCER robe, which I've never actually found before. That's a good soul item. And a level 106 renegade armor that's actually better than the renegade armor I'm wearing because it has cowardice and protection. So we're gonna go ahead and throw this one on. A 105 AZURE seeker. Don't think I've found this before, but given how fast it is, that one could be fun to play with in the future. Along with this slicer, faster projectiles, chance to fire piercing bolts. There's so many items to go through, but there's still none that are really jumping out at me. But so far we said $100,000 got 1 better armor. Okay, we found 1, 2, 3 AZURE seekers this round. This one's 107. I do want to see how fast it is. Okay, it's not nearly as fast as I thought. 107 Fangs of Frost are a good find, especially considering they have critical hit, radiance, and swirling. And 105 fighter bindings, so they're slightly higher level than mine, but they don't have gravity. Instead it would be shockwave, which would be perfectly fine. And a 106 guardian bow, so it does 38-14 damage, plus it has multi-shot, plus it has growing or fuse shot. This one would do tons of damage. The rest all seem to be kind of middle middle of the road 104, 105, whatever items. Well, you know the drill now. We get to salvage a whole bunch of uniques and buy a whole bunch more. One thing I am going to keep is this 106 Guardian bow because I can put multi-shot and fuse shot on it. Oh good, we've earned another 10,000 extra dollars we need to spend. I'm gonna change it up for a little bit and try and find some artifacts that can actually be of use to me on a high level. So far, I'm noticing a pretty clear trend. Most of the items I'm finding are level 100. The occasional ones are higher, but 100 seems to be by far the most common. That's officially 20,000 spent on artifacts. I did find a Gong of Weakening, and that's really about quite it. At this point, all I'm really looking for is a mushroom that's got to be 105 or higher. Fireworks arrows would also be acceptable. There's a 108 Totem of Regeneration. I wonder how long it would take to find 3 level 108 artifacts. There's another 30,000 spent since the last time we spoke. We did find a level 107 Torment Quiver, 107 Ghost Cloak, a 106 Mushroom that snuck through somewhere, a 106 Gong, so we'll definitely throw that on, and a few other 106s that I don't want to use. I kind of want to keep going with this until we find 107 or 108s of these. Not like I don't have the time or the money. Starting to understand just how rare 107s are. Down to 717,000, didn't find what I was looking for. Definitely found a few 106s, not very many 107s, and I don't think a single 108. Excluding, of course, our Totem, which I'm actually going to equip just because it's 108. And just like that, another 100,000 emeralds spent trying to find artifacts level 107. Nope. Didn't do it. This was another about 30,000 spent. Lots of 105s, 106s, no 107s or 8s. Unless you count this 107 Gong that I didn't see, we actually got an upgrade. It's still pretty crazy to me to think that I've spent about 320,000 emeralds, actually considerably more, and my gear score is still only 105. Albeit a very powerful 105, but still I thought I would have found higher gear by now. Down to 590,000, and boy is that ever exciting. Here's what we have to show for it. Not much of anything. Spent 90,000 emeralds, didn't get an upgrade. Since artifact upgrades are virtually impossible to get at this point, let's go back to weapons and armor. Sometime in about 100,000 emeralds later, we're left with 500,000 emeralds. And here's what we got for it. A Master's Katana, one of the ice sights. There's actually the first 108 unique that we found. Only took 500,000 emeralds to get it. 2 more Fighter's Bindings, another HARP bow. All sorts of fun stuff in this one. The Master's Katana can be good for damage, increases critical hit chance. This one is not. Our 108 Firebrand is pretty good. It's kind of missing the enchantment on the right though. Diamond Pickaxe would be fun if it had 4 Prospectors. It is one. Fighter's Bindings that are not bad, not as good as mine. These ones, definitely not as good. This HARP crossbow definitely could be interesting with accelerated piercing. That could mow down mobs really fast. Another Guardian bow with power and multi-shot. That would be fun by itself. Another one of the bow that I'm using, but not quite as good. A 107 full metal armor that gives you 30% damage. With cowardice, that would be good. I think I'm starting to go crazy because I've just been buying and selling items for the past I don't know how long. Another HARP crossbow. You know what? I think I want to try this one because it has growing, piercing, and accelerate. That's gonna fire a lot of damage outwards. So it only took like 400,000 emeralds to find a weapon upgrade at this point. We got very lucky early on. Let's see how this is gonna work. I like the size of those arrows. They're gonna get bigger and bigger, faster and faster. Alright, I want to test this out. I mean, our build was basically overpowered right from the beginning. It's only gotten better since then. But that also goes to show how lucky we did get right away because we found all these items basically within the first 50,000 I think, and we've hardly found an upgrade since. This build is fun though. It's just like a lawnmower. It just sucks everything in and mulches it. This might be a good place to try these because it's going to fire big damaging arrows way out there and nothing's going to be able to get anywhere close to me. Did they die? They're probably dead. Alright, that works well. And that's really without any range damage boost. Yeah, then we had a strength potion to the mix. Man, we're getting somewhere. I should just have one of these going at all times. Look at all that damage and how fast it is. Yeah, I really like this particular Fighter's Bindings. I still can die as it turns out. That's only because those spiders had thorns and I wasn't paying attention because it's getting very late. Because believe it or not, spending all those emeralds takes a lot of time. I was kind of hoping this level would be good for a bunch of big massive mobs, kind of like this to see how these arrows worked. But the cow level might be a better choice still in the end. But you can see it's gonna work out. Enchanted creepers are the enemy of everyone. Yeah, without a doubt, these fighter bindings are the best weapons I've used so far, with exactly these enchantments. The only way they could be better is if they were 108. A golem, this should be a good test of damage, and he's melted. And we got a unique item, Fangs of Frost. Huge horde of zombies, and all I gotta do is sit here and suck everything in, and they just die very quickly. Boss fight time, and he's dead. Cool. You'd maybe think though that spending all this money would have got me still somehow a better build. Time for the one true test. I mean, we already know how this is gonna go. I really just want an excuse to fire a bunch of arrows at a massive herd of cows. This one might work. It's a little bit hard to fire uphill, but you know what? I think it'll work out great. I really love that piercing effect. Now, as long as the ones nearby don't kill me and I don't run out of arrows, yeah, This bow would be a lot of fun. But then again, this whole build is just a lot of fun. And when I have my mushroom procced, that attack speed is second to none, that's for sure. Should we try it with the bow? We'll try it with the bow. How many arrows do we have? That should be fine. Yeah, it's taking big enough bites. Either way, whatever weapon we use, he's dead. The longer we wait, the faster it goes. Jailer's Scythe. I'm not even going to pick that up. Here's the deal. I'm not going to manage to spend 1,000,000 emeralds because this is taking way longer than I thought it would, because believe it or not, I don't think things through sometimes. But we got a pretty impressive build and a lot of good items out of this. Plus, I definitely spent more than 500,000 emeralds because I calculated roughly that we have about a 40% salvage rate. So we spend $500,000, 40% of that we get back. We spend that, we get 40% of that back. You see how that goes? More fun ideas coming soon.